If space-time isn't fundamental, then what's the most fundamental thing?
This is a great question. I recently came to a way of viewing a an answer to this question. I have an answer to this question. And my answer is that fundamental is a meaningless word in this sense. Namely, fundamental can be turned around in fundamental is what you use as a starting point for understanding something else. But there isn't in reality around us something which is truly, truly fundamental.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for somebody, fundamental is my perception.
Mm-hmm.
For somebody is matter. For somebody is energy. For somebody is God. For somebody is language. For somebody is the culture that'll give us the concept for thinking about these things. Who's right? Everybody's right. Okay, you can start from each one of these things. What you can say is that, look, this thing is not fundamental in this sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the right question about physics in fundamental physics is fundamental physics is what is fundamental. The right question is how do I understand things? I understand this in terms using that. Great. And what about that? Well, I understand that in terms of that. Great. And what if there is circularity? Great. What's the problem with circularity?
One thing I noticed in the past few years is that often we start somewhere in physics. We have some starting assumptions, and then there are derived quantities, right? And we think that because we started with these assumptions, those are the fundamental things. But very often you can go from the derived quantities backwards, right? And so you could have started off with a completely different set of objects to describe your physical system. And that's something that I had only recently, in the past few years, really sort of grasped in a solid way.
This again, there's nothing wrong with circularity. Let me go back specifically to your question. Space-time is the thing we measure with our meters and clocks. Okay, what are our meters and clock? Well, they're pieces of matter that we write equations of that. How do we write this equation? Okay, we have space-time in these equations. Uh, Now, clearly there is a singularity here. And in fact, there are sometimes I received papers in the journal that I direct. It says, oh, there's problem here, there's a singularity here because this is defined in terms of this, is defined in terms of this. So we don't have a clean starting point from which to derive everything else. And the answer is, yes, we don't have a clean starting point to derive everything else. And so what? Why do we want a clean starting point to derive everything else? We want to understand things in terms of things, right?
So do you think then that it's a mistake to think that nature can be described axiomatically?
No, I don't think so. I think axiomatization is very useful because it's a way of cleaning
Mm-hmm.
complex things to reduce into simple things. Um, but then when you have an axiomatization, you have the axioms and the concepts in terms of which these axioms are defined. Okay? What do you do with this? You say, oh, these are the foundation of reality. No, you say these are good tools. With this, I can understand that. Do I understand everything? No. In particular, I don't understand themselves, the actions. But maybe sometimes these very axioms are easily understood in terms of something else, right? Use geometry.
Mm-hmm.
Geometry is a beautiful, beautiful thing invented by Euclid. The five action, few concepts, rules of fantastic. Okay. Okay. Have you understood something fundamental? Fundamental? No, because the actual physical space doesn't satisfy that geometry. So that's true if these axioms are true, but if you reinterpret Euclid, point, line, triangles, okay, in terms of physical things, that's approximate, good description of those physical things. Well, these things are better understood in terms of something else, maybe general relativity and the Riemannian geometry. Okay, Riemannian geometry, it's a good starting point, but it's a complicated mathematics, needs a foundation. So how do you do a foundation? Well, maybe logic. Okay, logic. I mean, you can go forever. You can go round and round and round forever.
I think
So it's not a simplifying or axiomatizing is a bad idea. Is to ask the question about what is fundamentally, what's the basis of everything. That's a misleading question, in my opinion.